What an absurd setup. He unexpectedly turned into a white-haired girl who is a fan of staying indoors and being hunted by girls with big breasts. In the end, he meets a tragic fate at the hands of monsters. The story begins with a blood moon. Wu Yibei is bewildered, finding himself in a world filled with colossal and terrifying monsters. Among familiar skyscrapers, this scenario might scare those who suffer from megalophobia to death. There is also a group of crazy gay men who are pulling at my pants legs. These people tugging at his pants all have strange faces, yelling witch lady, but he knows nothing about it. Lu Yibei is a man, not some witch lady, although he often thinks about the world's destruction. If the apocalypse looks like this, it's still quite hard to accept. Barely escaped the pursuit of his male counterparts, Lu Yibei looks at himself in the glass window beside him. Surprisingly, the reflection is that of a white-haired girl, a girl who has turned into an otaku delight. Just then, memories start to attack Lu Yibei. It seems he's about to remember something. The attacks from the male monster counterparts have followed one after another. These monsters, lacking in male virtues, are touching and groping everywhere. They are attracted by the aura of the witch. In the midst of a provocative and obscene scene, Lu Yibei begins to question life, the most miserable male lead in history, not only facing the apocalypse, but also being overwhelmed by monsters. Fortunately, for the sake of everyone's mental and physical well-being, Lu Yibei quickly wakes up. Drenched in sweat, Lu Yibei feels a palpitation. This isn't the first time he's had this dream. Since the car accident, he occasionally has dreams of turning into a white-haired girl. The accident not only left him with a facial paralysis, but also frequent hallucinations. Following the principles of modern medicine, Lu Yibei decides to go to the hospital to check his eyes. Lu Yibei approaches with a try-it-out attitude. Lu Yibei waits for the diagnosis. Professor Yang reviews the case. This guy had a car accident and underwent corneal transplantation. However, the records show that his eye should have fully recovered. Lu Yibei insists that he often sees hallucinations. Professor Yang, trying to understand, asks what he sees. I want to tell you something. Please don't be afraid. I won't be scared. I am a doctor. Please go ahead and speak. Lu Yibei had no choice but to reveal everything he had seen. Lu Yibei reveals that he saw a little girl riding a corgi larger than a truck. The girl rode off into the distance before he could react. And that's not all. Just a few days ago, he was changing clothes in the men's locker room when he encountered the senior sister who was also in the men's locker room. The senior sister then ran away, leaving him extremely frightened. He even called the police. Professor Yan, after hearing this, laughed. He commented that today's male college students are already quite old, as it necessary to call the police over such shyness. The girl must have entered the wrong locker room and left when she realized her mistake. It's just a minor issue, not something related to supernatural hallucinations. However, Lu Yibei argued with Professor Yang. He insisted that it wasn't a minor issue. When he said the senior sister ran away, he meant that her head literally fell off, while her body ran away. Hearing this, Professor Young's worldview shattered along with his glasses. Stabilizing his emotions, he asked if they found the senior sister after Lu Yibei reported to the police. Did you find that senior sister? Asked Lu Yibei. The police finally found a pink hairpin at the scene and advised him to come to the hospital for a brain check. Lu Yibei promptly went to the hospital. Professor Yang gradually understood everything. He suggested that Lu Yibei might indeed have some issues, and might have encountered something supernatural. Lu Yibei angrily slapped the table, expressing his belief in modern medicine. I'm here for a medical examination with a belief in modern medicine. Don't drag me into superstitious beliefs, I'm afraid. Seeing that the patient was indeed irritable, Professor Yang quickly stabilized his emotions. He then wrote down mental illness in Lu Yibei's diagnosis. Oh, by the way, didn't you say you had one last hallucination? Go on. Professor Yang encouraged. looking at the patient whose emotions were gradually stabilizing. A sense of responsibility and compassion emerged from his professional demeanor. He was determined to safely hand over this child to his colleagues in the psychiatric department. Why aren't you speaking? What was the last hallucination you had? Professor Young continued to counsel the patient, unaware that Lu Yibei's calmness had nothing to do with him. Lu Yibei slowly began to speak. The last time, it was just now at the hospital. I saw a monster covered in tumors, and it is right behind you now. Lu Yibei realized that this hospital might not be able to solve his problem. He hadn't even been treated as a psychiatric patient yet. He quickly hid in the bushes, slipping away. As he sighed about the unpredictability of life, he headed towards the train station to go back home. The world was indeed too cold. Dreaming of monsters and being mistaken for a psychiatric patient again, he found ones only in his RD wife, Bai Xiaohuo. However, before Lu Yibei could share a tender moment with Bai Xiaohuo, the world in his vision once again fractured. Between familiar buildings, grotesque and terrifying creatures crowded together. He had experienced this bizarre scenario many times before. He must open his eyes in the wrong way. Lu Yibei rubbed his eyes, and as he looked out the window, everything returned to its usual calmness. Sighing, Lu Yibei wondered when these perplexing days would come to an end. In the midst of the troubles of this otaku, little did he know that the girl behind him had been observing him for a while. The system revealed that this person was the witch Gu Chongqian was looking for. She was the culprit destined to bring about the world's destruction. Execute her immediately. Rising abruptly, Gu Chongqian pointed directly at Lu Yibei in the front seat. The witch who will destroy the world. Get ready to meet your end. Lu Yibei fixed his gaze and was surprised to find an abundantly endowed girl emerging, wondering what she was up to. He felt she looked like someone who might need a visit to the psychiatric department more than himself, especially given her penchant for swearing upon their first meeting. Thinking it wise to avoid trouble, he quickly clarified, "Miss, my name isn't Lu Yibei. You've got the wrong person." Without giving Gu Chongqian any chance to react, Lu Yibei swiftly left the scene. As soon as he saw the station, he got off the train, leaving the girl and the eerie figures floating around her. Gu Chongqian watched him escape with a puzzled expression. "System, didn't you say she's the witch? How can a witch be a man?" Gu Chongqian exclaimed, bewildered. The system, equally perplexed, responded, "The detection results are accurate." The stubborn girl, upon hearing this, "Just you wait, I'll definitely save the world from your hands." The system was once again left speechless. The host's real name is Lu Yibei. He deceived you. He is too despicable. Having visited so many hospitals, Lu Yibei lamented. Feeling a bit disheartened, it seemed that his hallucinations could only be temporarily relieved. Perhaps he would recover on his own. However, before he could fully immerse himself in these thoughts, a well-dressed rabbit person suddenly blocked his way. Lu Yibei felt as if he had crashed into a wall, and hadn't even had a chance to apologize. The rabbit's disproportionately enlarged head and eerie eyes kept him rooted in place. He silently handed Lu Yibei a flyer, and the contents on the flyer consisted of some incomprehensible symbols and rabbit dolls. Politely declining the rabbit person's kindness, Lu Yibei couldn't help but feel uneasy encountering such a strange individual while walking alone at night. Yet, the sky, which had just been adorned with a bright moon, suddenly darkened. The rabbit person stood dumbfounded in place for quite some time. He never expected to encounter unexpected gains here. The strange fire gradually dissolved, and the rabbit person revealed a sinister smile. Having found the next target, he declared, "I'll be at your doorstep soon." The package he received actually overturned science and theology. What on earth is this? This Buddha statue of the Ming Wen seems to be using a nuclear warhead to save sentient beings. And the ringtone of this phone is too loud. Turn it off first. It seems much better now. However, when he answered the call, an even more annoying sound than the ringtone pierced through, causing pain in Lu Yibei's ears. On the other end of the phone was his big brother Bai Kai, who had watched him grow up. And this handcrafted Ming-1 figurine holding a nuclear warhead was also a gift from Bai Kai. Lu Yibei asked why Water Brother gave him such a strange fusion of Eastern and Western elements. Water Brother explained that the young man didn't know the value. This is a popular item on the internet. Before, Lu Yibei and Water Brother have been talking about it before. Recently, Lu Yibei always sees monsters. So, Water Brother gave this exercising Ming-1 to Lu Yibei, and it's also a large one. Water Brother's thoughtfulness towards Lu Yibei is self-evident, right? Holding this internet-famous Lu Yibei, he felt a deep generation gap between him and Water Brother. After finally getting a chance to talk to Xiaobei, Water Brother wanted to explain to him about the Ming-1 figurine. But unfortunately, Lu Yibei was too lazy to listen to his nonsense. Thinking that this nightclub gig should start by now, he quickly brushed off Water Brother, telling him to accompany clients well and not to bother him all the time. Water Brother's industry makes it hard for him to refute, so he could only explain it euphemistically as male public relations. However, being a gigolo is just a cover for his real profession. He feels that as Xiaobei grows up, he becomes less affectionate towards him. Looking at the phone that abruptly ended the call, Water Brother, who is usually easygoing, unexpectedly felt a bit down. His clients insist on disturbing the sweet moments between him and Xiaobei during their calls, and his frustrated state. Water Brother had no choice but to deal with them to vent his anger. These urban monsters have become increasingly rampant lately. Water Brother hasn't gone to provoke them, yet they've come knocking on the door themselves. Although Xiaobei's recent situation has made Water Brother somewhat worried, he is still quite serious about his main job. The massive monsters gradually extend their sticky tentacles, but Water Brother remains calm. While these monsters may be a nightmare for ordinary people, removing them is just a flick of an ashtray for Water Brother. On the other side, Lu Yibei's mood is far from calm. He still remembers the strange rabbit person he encountered before going home. In recent years, many urban legends have turned out to be true, and he's glad he didn't get involved with that rabbit person. Otherwise, he would have trouble sleeping. Wait, where is this? Wasn't he just sleeping in bed a moment ago? How did he wake up in an unfamiliar bedroom? And he hears the sound of the door being unlocked outside. If the homeowner catches him, how is he going to explain? The door is pushed open heavily, and the tipsy urban beauty sways in. She complains about her disgusting boss, while casually taking off her high heels and lying down on the bed. Lu Yibei, hiding in the corner, is temporarily safe, in case someone mistakes him for a pervert and grabs him. His future looks bleak, just as Lu Yibei, sneaking around, is about to make his escape. A sinister and terrifying greeting suddenly comes from outside the door. A chilling sensation, penetrating to the bone, makes Lu Yibei shiver. His securely locked door is violently smashed open. Oh no! Who could be breaking in? Lu Yibei couldn't have dreamed that he would encounter the strange rabbit person again in this way. The other party came prepared, holding a knife, and Lu Yibei's pupils contract in fear as he shouts, "Don't come any closer." However, the rabbit person wielding a weapon walks straight through his body, walking in front of the girl's bed right in front of Lu Yibei. Then, he raised the dagger. "Danger! Wake up!" Lu Yibei shouted, his throat hurting, but the woman continued to enjoy her worry-free sleep like a baby. The rabbit person smiled triumphantly, a very innocent and pure smile. Finally, he swung down the butcher knife, cutting and chopping the innocent girl's organs in front of Lu Yibei, as the executioner's knife fell with each stroke. Even in a dream, this scene was too shocking for Lu Yibei. He could only watch in horror as the rabbit person slowly stopped. He couldn't do anything. The rabbit person's captivating eyes silently gazed at Lu Yibei, frightening him to step back repeatedly. Everyone is just an ordinary person. Everyone is nervous. Unfortunately, he stumbled at this crucial moment. Lu Yibei hurriedly looked up, but the next thing he saw was the frenzied face of the rabbit person right in front of him. It's your turn. Next. 3:28 in the middle of the night. Zhang Lin's personal maid received a notification from Bai Kai. She didn't understand why she needed to be present at the scene. A mere sea-level Kaidan. The crime scene left behind a strange and awakening pamphlet. Zhang Li wasn't too interested in sea-level urban legend cases. That Bai Kai, eating instant noodles at the bloody sea, told her not to be in a hurry. He called her because there must be clues that interested him. "Look at this," he said. Zhang Li's eyes lit up. At the scene, they found Mr. Rabbit's fur. This Mr. Rabbit is a subordinate of the Twilight Witch, and the Twilight Witch was executed by Zhang Lin half a year ago. Kaidans cannot be completely eradicated through execution. As long as people believe in the existence of Kaidans, they will infinitely reincarnate. So, did Mr. Rabbit appear to resurrect his master, the Twilight Witch? I knew Zhang Ling would think so, but the fact is Mr. Rabbit is not that loyal. Two suspicious points can prove it. Firstly, Mr. Rabbit woke up earlier than the Twilight Witch but acted independently. Secondly, the remaining spiritual energy at the scene showed that Mr. Rabbit evolved from sea level to B level. This indicates that he didn't offer the victim's blood to his master but used it for himself. It's widely known that he has his own agenda. He wants to break free from the control of the Twilight Witch and become a new witch. Zhang Lin is well aware of the disasters that come with being a witch. Just recalling the grim scene from half a year ago gives her a headache. The Midnight Council cannot wait for disasters to happen before remedying them. She instructed her maid, Ahua, to track and investigate every citizen who had contact with Mr. Rabbit, including Lu Yibei. Lu Yibei, still haunted by the manic face of Mr. Rabbit, instantly woke up, feeling a chilling sensation as if pricked by needles as he sat up. As he sat up, the sensation gradually faded and he stabilized his emotions. Complaining about encountering the rabbit distributing flyers today, he discovered that he had slept the whole day. Though feeling odd, he decided to order takeout first. While searching for his phone, he found something even more bizarre. When did he put this piece of paper in his pocket? Lu Yibei slowly unfolded the paper, and upon seeing the familiar flyer, he felt a sudden chill down his spine. As he pondered how the series ended up in his pocket, his apartment's doorbell rang at an unusual hour. It couldn't be someone visiting this veteran homebody at this time, and the greeting sounded terrifying. The person kept pressing the doorbell impatiently, claiming that if no one answered, they would come in. Lu Yibei hastily shouted that someone was living there, urging them to leave. His terrifying voice sneered, stating that since someone was there, they had more reason to come in. This unconventional approach scared Lu Yibei, adhering to the principle of believing in science and dispelling superstition. He decided to check the home surveillance system, curious to see what kind of monster or demon it was. Lu Yibei focused his gaze on the screen. Astonishingly, the rabbit-headed creature directly in front of the camera greeted him. Holy shit! The supernatural being outside his house turned out to be the rabbit person from his tree. Lu Yibei immediately threw his phone 500 meters away. Meanwhile, the protective talisman Water Brother gave him, the large-sized daimyo Mugen figure, began to reveal mysterious patterns. While Lu Yibei was encountering the supernatural, Water Brother was reluctantly working at the nightclub. Water Brother, who usually behaved calmly, suddenly felt something unusual with the exercising Mingwen today. As he abruptly stood up, the hostesses were bewildered. Then, a monster came out after a short break. Xiaobei is in danger. The hostesses, who were in high spirits, watched as Water Brother left with his clothes. Water Brother smiled and reassured them, saying he would be back soon. At the same time, the Midnight Council, dedicated to investigating urban legends, was in its temporary headquarters. The maid, observing the increasingly intense spiritual energy fluctuations on her phone, grinned and remarks that her mistress's foresight was indeed remarkable. They anticipated an attack from Mr. Rabbit tonight, specifically targeting Lu Yibei. Upon confirming this, the maid immediately called Zhang Lin, who led a team of 11 agents. She informed Zhang Lin about the situation and the team set out to eliminate Mr. Rabbit. On the other end of the phone came a piercing scream. What happened? As the events unfolded, Zhang Lin felt an ominous premonition. She took a deep breath, and her eyes suddenly became vacant and profound. Her vast spiritual energy perception spread out like a large circular net. Everywhere it went, it detected the size of the spiritual energy of any Kaidans, leaving nothing unnoticed. However, just as she touched the source of a massive spiritual energy, a force that even startled her shattered her perception. Why was there an S-level Kaidan energy fluctuation in opposite direction, especially at this crucial moment when they were about to capture Mr. Rapid? Zhang Li knew the urgency of the situation. If they allowed a calamity-level urban legend to manifest without intervention, the consequences would be unimaginable. Putting aside Mr. Rapid and Lu Yibei temporarily, they had to prioritize dealing with this calamity-level Kaidan. Poor Lu Yibei found himself facing the unknown Kaidan in such a coincidental turn of events. An entity capable of breaking iron doors. The situation escalated rapidly, denying Lu Yibei the chance to descend the stairs. The figure claimed to have the power to ward off evil, the daimyo Mujin. There's a way. If I don't resist, I'll end up like the girl in the dream, killed. Lu Yibei couldn't accept such an outcome. The rabbit-headed entity, capable of breaking doors barehanded, was brought down by Lu Yibei wielding the daimyo Mujin. After experiencing two nightmares in one night, Lu Yibei was panting heavily. The rabbit-headed creature's mask rolled aside. Calm now. Lu Yibei quickly realized that something was amiss. The rabbit figure from the dream didn't wear such a doll-like mask, and the thing he had knocked down didn't look human at all. As he grasped the fact that he had actually killed a monster, Lu Yibei felt a nauseating sensation in his stomach. He knelt on the ground, retching repeatedly after throwing up. Afterward, feeling drained of all his strength, the surroundings started to distort and appear strange. He began to experience hallucinations again. Lu Yibei's consciousness quickly blurred, and within less than 2 seconds, he collapsed into sleep. He gradually woke up in the ruins of a city, a scene he had dreamt about before. The human world around him was in ruins, both familiar and unfamiliar. Suddenly, a peculiar flame ignited in the midair. Within seconds, the flame spread rapidly, resembling a conflagration. Lu Yibei wanted to distance himself, but being on the rooftop, he had nowhere to escape. The towering flames gradually condensed into a human form, revealing a scantily clad woman. There is the Bear Mountain, and a woman dressed in green, and everywhere she saw there was a great drought, 1,000 miles of bare ground.